Welcome to Don and Steve Plus. Glad that you're with us, and I've got a question for you to get started here. If you could pick any job at all, like any job, what would be your dream job?
Wow, there's so many things. So immediately I think of things that I think I could learn faster than others. Like, I don't think I could be captain of a ship. Right.
Okay.
Because I know nothing about sailing a ship.
Sure.
But I think some of these different things that I've never tried before that I'm always curious about would be really cool. Pilot of an airplane.
Yeah.
Travel, being a flight attendant. I think that would be fun if my ears would take it. But, okay, if you're asking me something like in the broadcast world, because that's what I kind of know.
Sure.
It would be something like The Price is Right, host of The Price is Right.
Nice.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be cool.
That's fun.
Like, I think probably my favorite game show.
Yes. Or I had this all planned. When Pat Sajak retired for Wheel of Fortune, I think that would be super fun too. Host a show like that.
Yeah.
Because you're with people and they're happy and
sure.
All of the. So my plan when I heard that he was retiring was I would take the host job and you could have Vanna's job because I didn't know she was staying on the show at the time.
Well, I could have reached the letters that were up high.
No problem.
Right?
No problem. So I thought this would be the perfect solution to their
My introvertedness could handle that. Your extrovertedness could deal with the contestants
I can talk
just
to
fine.
The people.
I like where you were going with that.
I thought it was brilliant until I heard she was staying.
She was staying, and they hired Ryan Seacrest. What doesn't he do?
Thank you. What does Ryan? Of course they hired. Is that what you're trying to do here? What? Are you trying to be a Ryan Seacrest? Is that why you're taking 15 million jobs? Is that it?
No. Not at all.
I now know. I figured it out. You have been hiding this from me.
The Ryan Seacrest of the Christian radio industry.
That is now Steve Hiller.
That is not me.
I don't know.
I'm trying to be Wayne Shepherd.
You host this and this and this and Okay. Anyway.
Well, I do dabble in a few different things.
You do. Yeah, I'm telling you. I think you're the Ryan Seacrest of Christendom in broadcasting. But it may be a quick answer, but those would be the things I think would be super fun, and you get to be with people on good days.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you think is the pinnacle?
Pinnacle I have a hard time with, and in Christian radio, I don't know what that would be. I honestly don't. I have no idea what that would be. One thing that I've always thought would be super cool would to be a voice in animated movies.
Oh,
like a Disney Pixar villain or something along those lines.
You could totally do that.
I think that would be super cool to just do, animated voices in movies and maybe commercials.
You could totally do that. I could see you do. I would love that. I cannot stay in character long enough. If I'm doing, I listen to these audiobooks.
Oh, and
some people can do character voices.
Some of them are incredible, aren't they?
How do you remember from the first chapter to chapter 22?
Exactly.
What she sounded like or what you did for his inflections.
And to be able to switch seamlessly between all those and do it consistently. Yes. Yeah. I read to my kids still sometimes at night. We're reading through Andrew Peterson's Wingfeather Saga.
Lovely.
We're almost done with the final book. We've got maybe 50 pages of that. But, they're pretty good-sized books.
Sure.
The whole thing, if you were to stack the books end to end, I'm going to guess they're probably close to about 6 inches.
Wow.
Yeah, 5 to 6 inches. So it's taken us a little while to get through those. And some of the character voices I can get into and out of very easily and be consistent with.
Sure.
A lot of them. Oh, man.
Not so much.
No, not so much. So that would be a challenge.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Those folks that do that really well, way impressive.
Yeah.
So I think if I was doing an animation, now maybe if I was one character and I
That's
really,
just it, right?
was sold out to the voice.
Yeah. Because you think of a James Earl Jones, who was the Lion King, right? Mustafa. So, that was him. I think it would just be finding that one character voice that you could commit to for that one film or that film series. And I think that would be so much fun. I would love to do that.
It would be so much fun. I do love learning about acting, stage acting, and I have a lot to learn. I have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
but I think it's intriguing and fun, and it stretches me. But one thing I learned at a little improv thing I was part of last summer is that if I need to be in my comfort zone, I switch into pretty deep Southern.
Really?
Well,
That's your character
Southern,
voice. Yeah.
but that is, I noticed that I start out talking fine and then I slip into this. Well, now, if you want to do this and you're going to have to come to the house. But it's natural because I grew up speaking that way.
Your roots are coming out.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it's one thing to make a character choice. It's another thing to do it midway.
And to switch midway through. Yeah.
Not a good look.
Yeah.
So that's what worries me about doing an animation or a character voice for a book, is that if I had to switch back and forth,
No.
he would, yeah.
Pick one and commit to it. I don't know if I told you this before. Years ago, I got to voice Moses in the Action Bible audio series.
Oh.
And that was fun because I am in a room full of other professional actors.
Oh, so fun.
And I just got to play the voice of Moses. It was a little intimidating.
I bet.
Because I'm in a room with a whole bunch of other professional actors, like people who do stage
Yeah.
shows and stuff in Chicago theater and whatever. So that was like a little intimidating to do that, but it was such a fun thing.
That's
To
cool.
be in a room. And it is kind of like what you see in the movies of the commercials, the behind the scenes things of how these guys,
Really?
voice these.
Yeah.
Like it was so much fun to do that.
I'm glad to hear that. I've often wondered if they try to do it independently, like you're in your home and you've got a home studio and somebody else is somewhere else and you're trying to be cohesive, but
A lot of times, yes.
okay.
And a lot of times, actors will just read their parts, and all of that stuff will get assembled later in post-production.
Yeah.
But other things, they'll put actors in a room
That's
and
so
play
fun.
off each other.
Fun and intimidating. I don't even like being around other radio people because
Right.
I know of how much experience they have. And though I try not to think about how much more knowledge they have than I do, I know it's true. And I feel like a little shrinking violet. And I don't mean to, because I know that the opportunities the Lord's given me were designed for me.
Right.
Like he does what he wants to do. But man, sometimes when you're with your peers, it's like, hey, good to see you.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to get coffee? That's great. But you want to talk radio? I'll listen.
Good. No,
And I've been doing it for so long.
I kind of get that.
Kinda funny.
Kind of get, but I wonder if like the people who have reached the pinnacle of their career ever feel that way.
Like Ryan Seacrest?
Like Ryan Seacrest.
I don't know, Ryan.
Hey,
Do you ever get intimidated?
You think he's watching?
I would like
Yeah.
to know. I mean, seriously, him, Bobby Bones, some of these folks that have done.
Well, I've heard Bobby Bones
that they do.
talk about Ryan Seacrest
Okay.
and say like Ryan is like the smoothest guy to just walk out and read a teleprompter.
Sure.
He's like nobody does it better than him, and
love
I
that.
believe that. So yeah, it's
Kudos.
such a cool thing. But I saw a headline recently about Lester Holt, and for those
Oh,
of you
sure.
who might not know who he is the guy who is the lead news reporter on NBC Nightly News.
Okay.
He's the main anchor there.
I remember him.
And so you've got David Muir on ABC. I don't even know who the CBS person is anymore. But Lester Holt's retiring. That's the point. Is he's announced that he's going to be stepping down from that position, going full time with Dateline, but stepping away from the day-to-day grind of reporting the news
It's a
every
lot.
night. They've announced his replacement. Tom Lamas, I think is his name, and he used to work for ABC and different things. But it got me kind of thinking, like, I wonder if Lester Holt ever gets nervous
Sure.
anymore. When, like, you talk about being nervous when you're a fellow radio broadcasters. Like, when you reach that level, do you think you get nervous anymore?
I think it depends on the situation. And I can't speak for Lester Holt or anything, but I do know, I mean, you talk about being with other professionals, and it kind of depends. Like if I'm with other people that do talk radio-ish, because that was kind of the model we were in for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm as intimidated with that group as I would be, say, what we would call a jock. Somebody that's in the Christian music
DJ.
space.
Yeah.
A DJ. Somebody that does something that I don't really do. Used to.
Sure.
And I would have talked about it back in the day. But now if you want to talk about the most popular song or something, I'm going to be like, Did that come out in the last decade? I'm not really sure. If we're not singing at church, I probably don't know it. So it's the lack of
Yeah.
knowledge. And I wonder if these big guys that do these big things, like if they have the knowledge, I doubt they're nervous.
Yeah.
But if they don't have, you and I did an awards presentation at
Oh, right.
ICVM,
Yeah.
International Christian Visual Media, right? Like last year.
Yeah.
And I was so excited because it's an award show, and we went out to read whatever and let the winner know it's you.
Yeah.
I was so excited about that. And then I get out on stage and like my whole face starts twitching and the nerves and the adrenaline is rushing. And I'm like, why? They're people.
Right.
And they're here for the people that are going to win. Like all you have to do is smile and say, hey, easy, right? No.
You would think.
No.
But there's something about eyeballs looking back at you. Yeah, I know. I talk to 1 million people on the radio. I don't care.
My face
10
wants
people
to
in a room,
twitch right now.
I'll freak out. Yeah,
I
don't know what it
know.
is about that. But, as I read the headline about Lester Holt retiring and naming his replacement, I was thinking, like, man, times have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there used to be a thing where I think everybody knew Walter Cronkite.
Yes.
Right. I think even when I was growing up, I think of like everybody knew Peter Jennings
Sure.
and Tom Brokaw, and Dan Rather. We were like the big three anchors.
Yep, I forgot about Dan.
When I was
Sure.
growing up. And so like that was the top of the game.
True.
I couldn't tell you who is the CBS anchor right now. I had to like rack my brain to even come up with David Muir. So I think it's interesting how when certain industries that used to be super popular, everybody was a household name if you were at the top of the game in that industry, not necessarily the case anymore. I actually remember Lester Holt more from his time being a reporter and an anchor on the air in Chicago than I do as him doing the network,
Sure.
and NBC Nightly News. So I'm wondering, is that, I know it's news that he's stepping down,
Yeah.
but you wonder, like, man, do we care about some of the reaching the top of the ladder or the top of the mountain like we used to, or am I just getting old enough now that I don't necessarily care that much anymore?
It may be a combination. And you add in how many platforms are available now when it used to
Yeah.
just be news platforms or late night comedy, late night show host, Johnny Carson,
Right. He was
David
king,
Letterman.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
these guys. And now, like, I know that they have late night shows and I see the commercials pop on or whatever, but don't really ask me the guys' names because if you don't watch the show and you're not a fan of theirs, and you also have multiple other platforms for entertainment, it's not the kingpin position it used to be. It used to be like that was the pinnacle. Anybody after Walter Cronkite, I kind of forgot. And I was a kid,
Yeah.
like when he did the news. But because of all of those different things, and I think too, like life experience, you go, yeah, great, you do a good job at your job. I'm not as, what would you call it, envious or whatever, if that's what you aspired to do as a kid, if you want to be the lead anchor. I mean, I've learned there's more important things.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, if that's the most important thing and you need to chase that, give it a shot. But once those kids came into my life, that changed a lot.
Priorities
for me.
changed, don't
So
they?
many,
Yeah.
so many things.
Yeah.
That the Lord taught me through that because there were things I wanted to pursue. And it's not that I gave those up for the kids. It's just that my priorities did change. And I'm so glad because for me, that's what was supposed to happen.
So, as I'm hearing you talk about the dream job, in a sense, it isn't necessarily being the flight attendant or the pilot or hosting a big old radio show anymore. It was being Alex and Micah and Hannah's mom.
That's what, when people say, oh, you work for so-and-so radio, or I used to listen to you when you were at this station. And I'm like, thank you. And I do mean that. And my claim to fame is being mom to these three and wife to Ben. Because to me, that's the most important calling I have on my life. And everything else is great. I've been so honored to do what I've been able to do, whether it was waiting tables at a restaurant. I loved that.
Okay.
Loved it. I worked
What was it about that?
serving.
Okay.
I just love being able to serve someone something that brings them a little joy, a little piece of quiet, whatever. And I would work banquets. The last job I had, I worked banquets, and often I'd work them alone. So you might have 20 people come
Wow.
in, and if it was 30, if it was 25 to 30, my manager would help me with drinks and salads. Or she'd dress salads while I'd go out and get the drink orders. But just being able to interact with somebody who's had a long day and they're coming in for a meal, and you're like, how can I make the next 45 minutes something that you can go, okay, the cares of my day can be still for a minute. I love that.
I could see you doing well, excelling that. I'm not surprised.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Not surprised.
Super fun.
Yeah. What was the worst job you ever had?
What was the worst job I ever had? It was more like people you work with through the years that you have to learn to navigate, right? If it's not a good fit for everybody to be there. I can't really think of a job I didn't find a way to enjoy.
Okay.
Pieces and parts of it. Like, I'm racking my brain. I'd have to go back through my work career, but just in the moment, I think it wasn't the job.
Sure.
But there were some challenging seasons within jobs. How about you? Did you have a favorite job besides working with me?
There you go. Yeah. That has been one of my favorite jobs that I've ever had.
Putting up with Don Raymond.
Yeah. It comes with a lot of pluses too.
That's true.
Yeah. I think just the working with you, working with the ministry Open the Bible has been a blast. So yeah, different
That's a nice thing
different
to say.
ministries that I've had the opportunity to work with has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed doing that.
Open the Bible's really cool.
Yeah, I go back a long ways with them.
Yeah, you do.
And
That's cool.
I really enjoyed doing that. But the worst job.
Yeah.
There's two.
I want to hear
that, it was. I had unusual things happen with this job that were somewhat entertaining sometimes, and it was one of the worst jobs, and that was working at a convenience store gas station.
Oh, I did that too.
And I did that because I wanted a short-term job that I could easily walk away from to get a much higher-paying job where I was going to work in the insurance industry, waiting for a big storm to hit somewhere in the country.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to go work a storm, make some money to be able to pay for college.
Sure.
And I just took this convenience store gas station job because I figured that would be an easy one to say, all right, I'm out. I'm going. Storm hit the week before I was to go back to school.
Oh.
Yeah, worked all summer.
Oh,
that job. Yeah. And the other one, I worked on a printing press for a little while.
Huh.
And it was kind of cool in some ways, but it was dirty.
Yeah.
Because after the press would run, we printed a lot of phone books. After the press would run, you'd have to get into there, climb inside the massive presses, clean the rollers, take off the plates, do all this, wiping down all this ink. I mean, it was a dirty job.
Yeah.
It was a noisy job.
I bet.
Where you had to wear earplugs. And then because I was the grunt, it had these massive rolls of paper that would go through the printing press. It would print, then it would go out through this like funneled device that would fold them.
Oh, sure.
All the pages, so then
Yep.
they'd be bundled, and then you could take them and cut them and do whatever you do to finish the job. But all these papers would come through this chute, and they would begin to pile up, and we would take basically picture a hay bale,
Yeah.
but of phone book paper.
Oh.
You would have to compress them, wrap them in twine, get them ready, load them on pallets, and get them ready to go off to be shipped and bound and whatever they do to finish the phone book process. But this press can't stop.
Of course.
So you've got
You're
these
moving.
papers flying at you, and these bundles weigh
I was gonna say, aren't
anywhere
they
from
heavy?
50 to 70 pounds.
Dude.
And you got to keep up, and you got to stack those pallets full of those things. And so I went from that to climbing inside the press, cleaning the rollers, getting all the back to bundling, and that was probably not my favorite job.
That does not sound fun. How long did you work there?
A summer,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd pass on that one, I think.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, you wouldn't have to work out.
That was a workout.
Yeah,
and you know what? Back at that stage of life, I don't know if I was a senior in high school or early college. I would go from that job to the gym, to the basketball court,
Dang.
to the whatever, right?
Yep.
Because that's what you do when you're
Of course.
18, 19, 20 years old.
I know.
Now, I think it'd kill me.
It totally would. It makes me tired just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then all the newsprint and, cleaning out those rollers. No thanks. But you survived. And look, it's character building, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yep.
Perseverance building.
That it does.
Life lessons in there. That life lessons. Take it from me. There's life lessons in there.
Yes. I think every kid should have to do a job that is hard at some point.
And stick to it.
And stick to it for a while so that they learn some of those life lessons.
And that way, if you want a job, an anchor job, or something that you think is big, then you have the stick-to-itiveness, the perseverance to continue to go after it and not just, oh, well, that didn't work.
Yep.
And I guess I'll stop because I didn't get my $100,000, $250,000 job my first time out. Really? I'm still waiting on mine too. So there's that.
There is that. Yep.
Because it's not all about the money.
Oh, no.
And I think as we talk about this, like these guys that are at the top of their game or gals that are at the top of their game, I mean, yay. I think if we can celebrate that with them, that's kind of half of the piece that comes to your heart. But the other thing is, like, there's nothing wrong with hard work. And these folks have put their time in.
Yeah, they have.
And I've heard Bobby Bones talk about, you have too, right? Bobby Bones talk about how he got to where he is.
Oh, yeah.
And the hard work that man, and I'm sure Ryan's is the same. I've not heard his story, but they have put in the work to get to where they are.
Yeah.
Things that most people would never do. So I applaud them. They're reaping the fruit of their labor, and I think it's great.
Well, I think it's great that you are doing generally what you love, right? I know the opportunity that the Lord has given us to be able to talk to people about Him is something that gives both of us life.
Yeah.
Right? It's fun to be able to do that. Hope that at some point in your life you have the opportunity to do something similar, something that is life-giving and that is meaningful to you. And so, love to know what that is or even what that dream job might be. You can always comment on different platforms that we're on.
Love that. Yeah, so good. And we are on how many different platforms? I don't even know.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
Right? So Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever you get your podcasts, plus YouTube.
Yeah. And you can connect to us through our website, which is DonnaStevePlus.com. Everything's in the show notes. We try to make it easy for you. Anything that we talk about, we'll try to get that information right there. Would you like and subscribe? We'd appreciate your support. We are a listener-supported podcast. I don't think we ever talked about that.
That's true.
But we're a nonprofit. We have our 501c3 status, and all of that information is on our website. Thank you so much for being our plus one.